Welcome back, everybody. My name is Hasbil Yadi. We're gonna get started again. So if you haven't watched the last two videos on the fundamentals of Python, please feel free to go back and check those out. In today's video, we're gonna go over a couple of things. One is tuples and what tuples mean in Python. And number two, we're gonna go over if statements, which are very important. So with that, let's get started. Let's just say I'm gonna creating a tuple, and let's just make this a heading and do a shift enter. Okay, so basically let's just talk about what tuple is as compared to a list. So in a list, if you recall, we use a square bracket like I'm seeing here. So we used a square bracket to create a list. But in tuples, instead, we actually use parentheses. So I can say 100, 200, and 300, and basically call T and do shift enter. And it basically gave me 100, 200, and 300. So what are the main differences between a list and a tuple is that a list uses square bracket and a tuple uses parentheses. And number two important difference between a list and a tuple is that tuples are immutable, means that they cannot be changed. So for example, if let's just do an example here. So let's just say if I had a list, I could have easily replaced, the first item and assign a different item to that. If I want to do the same thing here, if I say T square bracket, for example, I want to replace index 0, which is 100, with something else. Let's just say I want to replace that with new. Okay. If you run this, Python is going to give you an error. And here's why. See that it says tuple object does not support item assignment. So I cannot assign an item when I have a tuple. We did this like in the previous video, we did assign item to a list, but in tuple, it does not allow you to do the same thing. And that's one of the primary differences between a tuple and a list. So a list, we use a square bracket, and also a list is known to be mutable, which means they can be changed, but a tuple are known to be, tuples are known to be immutable, which means they cannot be changed. And what I mean by that is it simply means that if I want to replace the first or second index with a different value or a different string, it does not allow me to do so. So just remember that it is one of the main fundamental concepts in Python. We're most likely going to be using a lot of lists in future videos, but I just want to emphasize on the difference between a tuple and a list. So now that we understand a tuple, let's go ahead and just start with if statements. Let's do if statements. And let's just change this to heading again and just say, okay, do a shift enter. So with if statement, let's just start with something simple. Let's just say if 100 is equal, remember you got to have two equal signs, to 200, colon, and hit enter, and automatically, you can see that there's it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So you can always hit tab. You can always come to the beginning of the line and hit tab and hit just count 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it'd be the same thing. Or you can just simply after adding the colon, just hit enter, and it will bring you down to the next line. Let's just say if 100 is equal to 200, which is not in this case, I'm going to say print good job. Otherwise, else we can say print not good. Okay, I'm just making this up. So so now if you run this, let me actually delete this last line here. If you run this, since 100 is not equal to 200, of course, it's going to print not good. Okay, so that's just one example. That's the simplest form of if statement. Let's just make it a little more complicated. Now let's just go ahead and say x is equal to 100, y Actually, let's make it capital X and make it capital Y. It's just my preference, no other reasons. And Z is equal to 300. Let's just say if X is greater than Y, okay, I'm going to hit enter. It brought me down to the next line and it's already tapped. So let's just say print good. Okay. Now, if you want to have more than one statements, like, if you just have two, you can say if and else. But if you have more than one, you could say, you can use the term Elif, but you have to go to the beginning of the line. So Elif like this, and it will turn, a Jupyter notebook will turn that green for you. That just means one of those, functions that we have in Python. So Elif, let's just say Z is less than Y, which if you look at Z here, Z is 300 and Y is 200. So Z is not less than Y in this case, okay? We're gonna say print, and let's just say so. And then finally, since that's the last one, if these two conditions don't exist, let's just say else, colon, and then hit enter, and then do print. Let's just do, say, bad, okay? If you've noticed, I have if, okay? Then I have print, okay? So if X is greater than Y, which in this case, X is not greater than Y, and Elif, right after Elif, you can put a space and put Z is less than Y, which in this case is not, print so. And then otherwise, just print bad. So if you run this as expected, you're gonna get a result of bad. So this is just remember, if, Elif, and else, these are very common. You can have you can have multiple Elifs, within here. I just have like one in this case, but you can have multiple conditions. You can add as many as you want to. Now let's do another example here. Let's just say X is equal to 100, Y is equal to 200, and Z is equal, it's pretty much the same thing. Z is equal to 300. And let's just say if, it has to be lowercase, X is greater than Y, and hit enter. We're going to say we're going to assign that A is equal to X plus Y, Elif, remember when you hit enter, it's going to take you here, but you got to go back to the beginning. So then hit Elif, type in Elif, just Elif space, say Z is less than Y, okay, and then hit enter again. And then let's just assign this to a B this time. So B is equal to X plus Y plus Z. In this case, since X is not greater than Y and Y is not greater than Z, both of these calculations will not be run. And let's just add one more, say else C is equal to, let's just say 2, just making this up, 2 times X plus Y plus Z, okay? So now if you run this, and then if you, for example, call in C, which is the correct statement in this case, it will give you the result, which is 2 times X plus Y plus Z. So X plus Y plus Z is 600 times 2 is 1200. So you got that result. Let's do another example, this time with more oil and gas terminologies. And then we'll be done with this video. So let's just say field. I want to have a field, like a field of study. I want to say, let's just say, I'm a bit biased. My primary background has been reservoir. So let's just say reservoir. So field is equal to reservoir. And then I'll just say if field is equal to, you gotta have 2 equal signs. Say drilling is drilling, colon, hit enter. Print, we're gonna print drilling optimization, okay? And then Now, if you remember, you got to go to the beginning of the line, say Elif, field is equal to, for example, completion. Let's put 2 equal signs here. Completions. Then put in print completions optimization. And then we're going to do another Elif. As I said, you can have multiple Elif. So let's do Elif. Field is equal. And this, let's just say production, for example, which is in this case is not. Column, enter. Let's do print, my favorite field, production optimization. And finally, since this is the last one, by the way, I have a typo here, Elif, right here, there we go. And finally, this is the last one. So let's just say else, enter, print, again, my favorite topic, reservoir and subsurface optimization. Okay. So now if you run this, since a field is not equal to drilling or completions or production, it should yield the last statement, which is reservoir and subsurface optimization. If you change this to, for example, completions and run this, it will give you completions optimization. So this is pretty much the basics of if statements. In the next video, we're going to cover for loops, which are one of the most important fundamental concepts in Python. So basically, we covered 2 things today. We covered the tuples, the primary differences between a tuple and a list. As I said, a tuple uses parentheses as opposed to square bracket that a list uses, and a tuple is basically immutable, which means it cannot be changed. As I showed you in this example, you cannot assign an item to any of these indexes that were in this tuple. And then if statements, just remember, you got to have if you have just 2 of them, if and else. If you have multiple, just remember if, elif, and else. Just make sure you got 4 spaces. If you just hit enter in Jupyter like notebook, it will automatically take you to the next line and has those indentation properly done. So indentation is extremely important. If you don't have the proper indentation, it will give you an error. So if I, for example, change the indentation here to just 1 and run this, in this case, it ran, but in general, you want to have the proper indentation. And you can see here that it actually turned red. So let's go back here and hit enter. Here we go. So now, it runs properly. So just make sure you have the proper indentation in Python to make sure that the codes are read easily. And that's pretty much it for this lecture. Hope to see you guys in the next lecture. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.